Good morning, everyone, and welcome to this inaugural panel on India's franchisee future vision 2030. We are in a hall full of brand owners, retail operators, and entrepreneurs. And I'm sure that one thing everyone will agree is that India's commerce landscape is changing fast, and it's changing on multiple dimensions. Newer consumer cohorts are emerging, technology is everywhere, commerce is getting faster and in some categories even instant. Commerce is getting more and more influenced as well. And through all these changes, the franchisee ecosystem is also humbly evolving. A decade back or so, maybe it was just about the infrastructure access, investment appetite, to maybe even some operational acumen. But fast forward today, it's not just about those parameters. The franchisees needs to now think like marketeers. They need to integrate technology. They need to develop those consumer sensitivities as well. So the idea of this panel discussion is to really unpack what are some of the significant changes happening in India's commerce landscape, and therefore what does it mean for the future franchisee ecosystem. Yeah, and we have got a phenomenal panel today, and I think they even don't need introduction, and we can directly deep dive into the discussion. And let me first start with the store first, and because that is where the action happens, right? And I think everyone will agree that store is no more a mere point of sales. It has become a place where consumer walks in to maybe have a good shopping experience. And when I say shopping experience, it's not just about some hi-fi technologies like AR, VR. It's even about the basic hospitalities, the knowledge of the store staff, and even the ambience of the store, right? And even in some categories, it has gone to a level where consumers are saying that is the store ambience Instagrammable enough? So they are looking for stories. Now, the good or bad thing about this experience is that it's very difficult to standardize experience, right? And think about how can one standardize hospitality, the knowledge part, the ambience part. And that is where the challenge emerges, right? So how can brand first sort of write a guideline, because rule book is very difficult, to elevate the experience and then do this knowledge transfer to the franchisee partner. So on this note, maybe my first question to you, Lalitji. So given this rise of propensity for experience or a better shopping experience, how has your brand inculcated this experience thing on ground and also scaled it up?
Thank you, Mukesh. Good morning, everyone. Good morning, gentlemen. Salam alaikum. Busy, but anyway. So, no, I think we have been in this industry. I have been in this industry for almost 3.5 decades. Since my childhood days, I remember days when my father had a tailor shop, and where I used to interact with the customer while he was taking measurement and doing trials. And that's the experience which was important, getting them on the trial room, giving them the right delivery of the time. So the experiences have been shifting, and I've been seeing this whole journey, how the customers' demand, aspiration, expectation is moving in the direction as the technology is growing, as the availability is happening more and more, as the consumption is rising more and more, and organized form of retail is becoming bigger and bigger. So at V-Mart, we largely deal in fashion. We are more in smaller towns, tier 2, tier 3 towns. We always used to believe, and people sitting here, a lot of them would believe that largely people need experience in bigger cities, metros. But let me tell you, for the last 2.5 decades, we have been doing that in smaller towns as well. And it is equally important in smaller towns as well. It is more important that consumer has to be given the best of the product, the best of the display, the best of the prices, and the best of the services. And the services is including everything inclusive is what we call a brand experience, is what gets remembered, is what people look for. And ultimately, these are all guided and driven by supply chain. It is definitely something which is core to your physical retail or core to your digital retail as well. Wherein you now, the new word which is coming up is also technology-driven retail, online retail. How do you give a customer the consistent experience? So at V-Mart, what we have done is we have tried to integrate families, bring in newer generation customer, But somewhere we realize that this customer now is changing. Smaller town consumer, the lady in the house, they also now want some part of convenience. So they are now looking forward to when they are in the store, and if they don't get sizes, they are looking forward कि यार घर पे भेज दोगे क्या? And how can we buy it online? How can we? So you need to give a omni experience, and this is much more in the younger generation. And the younger generation is completely looking differently to that brand. They really are looking to own up a new brand which they feel is my brand. And this customer segment is becoming much more important, because they are just not buying for themselves. They are not today's 40% of India, but they are also impacting the decision of the entire family. What the family should buy, how should family should wear, where should they buy from. So I think it is becoming much more important to be relevant to the younger generation and create an experience for them, which is what they are looking for. And what are they looking for is something which is different, something which is more youngy, something which is more vibrant, something which is more ethical, something which is more scalable, sustainable, and something which is more communicative and engaging. So I think that is what you have to provide as an experience to this new customer segment. That is why we have just recently thought of कि यार V-Mart में हम ये वाला experience शायद दे नहीं पा रहे. So we took over a company called limeroad.com, which was an online marketplace vertical. And now we are trying to give this same experience in the Limeroad retail store, where the customer can have really a digital and a uniform experience with a little more clutter-free store experience, a younger dynamics of retail, colorful dynamics of look and feel. How do you give those kind of product lines which they want, that kind of fashion which they are looking forward to, that kind of communication, and those kind of people who are promoting these brands. It is not those bigger ambassadors who will promote it. It is those smaller influencer, micro and nano influencer who are actually relevant to them, which is more important, where the brand gets connected. And that is where I think the whole experience comes about. And that is what they are looking forward to. And within all of that, the brand has to be very consistent on its delivery of experience, delivery of product lines, and value is the core. I think for these newer generation, value is very important. They don't want to spend more at one time. They want to spend that into multiple times, and they want to look good with newer things every day. And that is what is important. So I think bringing value, bringing even sustainability and ethics is very important. They want very transparency in where are you sourcing from, what are you sourcing with, how are you treating your people, how are you actually operating in the store. So all of that is very important, and that should be very much known, and that is a very much fundamental part of their decision making. And that is how, as a retailer, we are trying to change. There's a long way to go, but that's the step that we are taking up.
Sure, and really insightful. So experience is not just localized to metros tier 1. In fact, the consumer from tier 2 is also looking for good experience. And younger consumer cohort is also a very brand. They need to know about the stories behind the brand. They are purpose driven, and they are in fact also becoming the decision maker for the households. And as they are digitally native, they really are inclined to go for the omni-channel experience as well. So consistent product delivery, tech-driven experience becoming important. On this note, Nitesh, let me come to you. Now, we have taken some significant steps when it comes to in-store experience. How do you now see this evolving in future? And therefore, how is it going to influence your retailing and franchising strategy?
So look, we as an organization, we sell almost 2 million ready apparel every day. We have a huge quality team, product team who is working with us, and we have already different price points in a different segment. We are already running as a COCO store. Now we started doing our franchisee stores. Our idea is to, first of all, that there is a huge, almost 9 lakh crore unorganized apparel market, and we are trying to change this market to an organized market through a small entrepreneur. They feel that is a mall, right? And for a lot of markets, so in a pin code, 8,000 pin code, I am trying to go from bottom to up. We are not going from top to bottom. In a lot of market where we are the first as a brand we are entering, I am going even a 50,000, 40,000 population small towns, and I'm seeing that is a great success there. You know, as Lalit ji also said, that which I agree very much. That now new generation is not looking to spend everything together in a bigger things. They want design, they want style. What is shown in the Milan last week, they want, maybe they will search for this week, because they are very much aware. They are very much connected with the world. What is happening in? I don't think even I am so much connected the way this Gen Z is. They are connected. So what we are getting advantage of trying to give them the value pricing and the quality what we give actually in a their affording price, and that is giving us very good success, especially mass segment and in a 3-tier 4-tier city. So in our stores we have also trying to do some tech innovation like self checkout. Even if you go to our some of the store which is in metro especially, if you go to the trial room with the 3-4 kind of your apparel, and you want to bring the size inside your trial room, you don't have to go out. There is a TV screen. You just mention the design and put ki I want medium or large, and there is a system which comes inside the trial room, which you can get there only without going out. And also, as I said, self checkout and all these all kind of technology we are doing. We have also put a system, Omni. You order, if suppose you are not getting size, you order in the store online. We have screens and will be delivered at your home. So this kind of all new technology we are doing. But one thing I must say that the way franchise market is expanding, I think it's a huge opportunity for every entrepreneur, every company, and also the people who want to become entrepreneur. The both sides is a win-win situation is going to happen.
Thanks. And I think the key takeaway is to the pin code level approach, which is where you are unlocking the micro catchments. That's really insightful. Anupam, next, let me come to you. Now, given this changing scenario that experience is becoming more and more important, in last few years, did this trigger a relook at your end as to like how should you evaluate your franchisee design and training strategy so that they are able to inculcate the right experience part on ground and also like scale it up across franchisee network?
So definitely it's a very, very relevant question, and let me take you through a journey a little bit. So Liberty entered into domestic market in way back in 80s. And that time there was no concept of COCO stores and experience. And the only way we could have grown, which Ashita still reminded me, was franchising, because we wanted to create and connect with entrepreneurs. And our whole journey started from franchising and valuing of the franchising model. And till 2003, we were only dependent on franchising. From there, a lot of investment went into building processes, training and everything. And then we realized, no, franchises are entrepreneurs. Sometimes you're not able to dictate your brand principles, your control, because they've invested money, and you go through the learning phase, and then you change gear and say, okay, I need COCO stores, I need company-owned stores because I want to create experience. Franchisees very ROI driven. They would not like to invest money into experience or the brand expression, experiment with new products, because they want continue to sell the core lines, because profitability is their core zone. So you invest into COCO stores to enhance the whole franchising, and that's how in last 15 years we were able to upgrade, showing our COCO stores the whole franchise network. And again we have to go into the whole process of relearning the whole thing again. How do you enhance, all the concepts we spoke about in terms of omni-channel experience, creating a different experience, which the franchisee would never innovate. So as a brand, you constantly need to keep on learning what's in the market, exhibit the success in your own COCO stores, and use them as role models to explain franchisee and take them along in the journey. So constantly you need to keep on coexisting COCO models and FOCO models to create experiences and to take them into the expansion drive. Because in COCO stores, it is very difficult to micromanage in smaller towns, and especially in the tier 2, tier 3 towns, the kind of connect which you get with franchisee in terms of local network, what he can optimize. And obviously, there is always a challenge in balancing the ROI model and the experience model, and how you have to create success in both the models is most important. Definitely the other parts in terms of if the franchisee has become old, how you also get his new generation into the play, how you use the strategies effectively. I think those are the definitely training experiences, other than the product and the constant innovation which is happening in today's with digital world. It has become far more simpler to kind of train them, unlike which we used to do channel meets by calling everybody 3 or 4 times in a year, which was a lot more expensive. And in today's technology, it has become a lot more cost effective to train, and constantly we have to keep on doing that activity.
And I will just pick one thread and come to you, Ashita. And one insight is that earlier franchisee used to be ROI focused as against the experience focused. Now, do you see, at least in the recent time, that consumer sensitivity or experience first mindset is coming up to the fore? And are you seeing any franchisee or brands going for innovative experience format to resonate better with the consumer cohort?
Yes, absolutely. In fact, so this panel is, I think, approximately about 150 years of experience in different brands and single brands. Having said that, today companies are doing everything when it comes to experiencing, and I think that is where franchising is growing, because they want a franchisee to be profitable at a unit level, and it involves a lot of relationships. Like I was telling Anupam ji also, that my mother would go to a Liberty outlet and say, "Ye wala model discontinue mat karna, ye mujhe chahiye hota hai." You know, every time she would go and buy that. So that store manager has a connect with my mother, not Anupam ji. So by the end of the day, that franchisee who's managing that store manager is actually calling the shots at a local level. And I think that is what is attracting bigger brands and bigger companies to become smaller at that one unit point, because he's the one who wants to do it. So I think experience has got a lot to do with who's managing it, a franchisee and a store manager. So I think that's the key which people are trying to solve, but I think it's pretty much done with franchising. Of course, you need quality controls. Of course, you need trainings, when it comes to franchisees, but that's the key that we've been able to.
And also taking one extension on the experience part, and everyone spoke about is investment in technology, right? And Nitesh, let me first come to you. You have been at the forefront of many digital transformations. How do you see this technology-led experience going forward in future, and what are some of the challenges when it comes to on-ground change management for these franchisee partners to sort of adopt this new technology in the right spirit?
Look, if you see today, experience in the shopping, experience in the stores and all, whatever you are getting a digitally experience is always in the consumer mind, and that is going to be there for a long time. If I have gone to any store and done normal shopping, so 2 things I remember. One is what kind of service I got, and what kind of technology was there. So as I said, in our stores, lot of stores, we have a self check-in. Sometimes I have me or many customer can correlate. When you are going on the cash counter, you see a 20 people queue, and then you feel like leaving the product, whatever you have picked up, and go out. So there the technology comes in the question. And if I see the way young Gen Zs are using the technology, the way they breathe, the way they think, the technology is going to be everything. I feel that these technology need to understand by the organization very well and utilize very well. Otherwise, you will be far away for all this young customer. And 60% India is young. 60% India is below 25, and they are who are going to spend in future. Still they are spending nowadays. After 13-14 years, a kid is started buying their own. Is no more parents required. They decide where to go, what to buy, and also they sometimes thinks I should buy only this much rupees of pant, this much rupees of T-shirt and all, and so technology is now going to be everything in future. All the organization is working towards that, especially we as a organization is also too many things already has implemented, right? So future is going to be very, very bright for this.
And if I speak about the value retail, now the challenge for value retail is to choose the right technology so that it doesn't become overwhelming for that format, right? You can't really go for some hi-fi tech and have a low price point SKU. So how did you tread this tricky path of balancing tech, choosing the right tech, and also facilitating the right experience to your consumers?
You're absolutely right. I think customer need experience. They are not worried and they don't mind how are you giving them. And it has to be very seamless. The very important part is it has to be very seamless. And the customers that we are dealing with, when we say value, it is just not value catering to bigger cities or literate customer. This is value given to semi-literate or non-literate customers also, who typically earn 20 rupees to 20,000 rupees to 30,000 rupees in a month. And how do you deliver value to them? And how do you deliver value both through digital as well as phygital form? And that is the most important thing. And I think it has to be idiot proof. It has to be simple. It has to be usable. It has to be just solving his problem. We need to, as a retailer, keep thinking that are we customer centric in the entire approach? Are we using technology to remove the pain of my customer, to create convenience for my customer, or to make them smarter? Or whenever they think of something, how do we just be available? And we need to just be there. I think it is only what we have done is largely we have used technology for our internal automations, because as you scale up and as you grow as an organization, there is a lot of technological requirement that you have internally, which is required to give a standardized or a uniform approach to the consumer or uniform offering to the consumer. And two is that what is the customer needing? And in retail, because there is a lot of variety, in fashion there is many options which are available, lot of fashion which is available. How do you deliver everything to the customer in this diverse world where the customer in India is very different across region? State to state differentiation है, उनकी पहनावा अलग है, उनकी सोच अलग है. How do you deliver all of that at a time? So some of that you can do in a 5,000 square feet, 8,000 square feet store with limited amount of inventory. But everything you can't do. But digitally, there's lot more that you can offer. And how do you integrate that? How do you create endless aisle for your customer? How do you create those seamless solutions for the customer where they get multiple variety and that particular variety which is lost? अगर खत्म हो गया, एक पीस बचा हुआ, उसकी कैसे वैरायटी दे रहे हो आप स्टोर पे, कैसे उसको सीमलेस कर रहे हो? हाउ आर यू delivering that experience? How are you then communicating with the customer through technology, which is in terms of messaging them, giving them solution, giving them right kind of merchandise look, giving them your new launches, giving what is required, curating them towards their need, personalizing them towards what they require. So I think personalization, curation is a very, very important phenomena which people are looking forward to, and technology can actually deliver that very nicely. If created in a nicer manner, if the algorithms are tweaked in a nicer manner, as an entrepreneur thinks, as an employee thinks, how do we drive that whole thing to drive it? And then how do you actually create greater designs? How do you bring in the faster design to the customer on the shelf from the mind? So mind to market has to got reduced. How do you actually use technology on all of those is very, very critical to the utilization. And then there are multiple technology uses in the front end which you can deliver while making the payments for the customer. How do you integrate some of these features which becomes, because ultimately adoption of digital payments have become much more higher. Earlier we used to only have 10% of non-cash payment. Now today we are having almost 50% of non-cash payment even in a smaller town, which is a new revolution. Now how do you actually make it much more automated experience for the customer at the front end, both physically as well as digitally? Those are the areas I think we will have to really work on, and that is what we are doing. But all of these taken, we can't keep adopting newer technologies. We can't keep spending on newer technology, because ultimately as a retailer, profitability will also be important. And you need to always see that what is rightly developed. How do you develop it in a conservative manner? How do you be prudent into your business also, so that you can ultimately deliver value to your customer? which is very important as well. So developing like technology internally also is very important, and adopting internally with my ecosystem or my employee base and my vendor base is also very, very important.
Great insight. And keeping the consumer cohort in mind, adopt the right technology and adopt technology for experience, for speed, and for convenience. It has to maybe solve something, not like just we have a technology and let's go for the investment. On this note, Anupam, let me come to you. And if you could throw some light on some of the technologies you would have implemented in last few years, and more importantly, what were some of the specific change management challenges you faced? Because sometimes we do observe that we have chosen the right technology, but to make it successful last mile, that is when the rubber hits the road, that is where the real litmus test happens. So how has been your experience, if you can share some learnings and guardrails?
So today, I completely buy Sir's point that technology has to be usable, solving a problem, and don't just to implement technology for the heck of implementing technology. And we have gone through the change of being the first Indian retail company to implement SAP, integrate all POS, and bring back the data. So I think the biggest transformational change we did with the technology is how the consumer insights can come to us and translate into the production and reduce the whole cycle into less than 21 days, including production. So how the product which is selling, information goes back for replenishment, and also triggering our production efficiencies from there. Instead of forecasting production for 6 months and the failures was high, we are now only forecasting production for just a month and creating last 5 months as an open capacity, so that whatever information comes in, the production is, I would say, aligned accordingly, and backward and forward integrating our vendors and the consumer. So the input comes from the POS data and translated into production orders and converting into purchase orders to almost all the vendors. So how we have effectively reduced supply chain, I think that has been the biggest transformation in technology, and keep on optimizing that whole mechanism and reducing lead time is something what we constantly work upon. As far as investing on technology on the front end in the consumer experience, obviously omni-channel are areas we have been working upon. I won't say that they have been completely path breaking. While we are part of the ecosystem, all stores are ready, but I would not like to say that the great efficiencies or ROIs have come where the consumer are ready. Like for example, if we are ready for home deliveries, I think that's there, but I don't think so the demand or the transformation is so high. People who like to come to the stores like to come to the stores and buy, and people who are online, they like to get delivery online. So I have not seen too many hybrid instances where people order online and they like to take delivery at the store, or people who are at the store, they like to do home delivery but energized through the manager rather than saying it is coming from central warehouse. So we have seen a mixed response there, but we are part of the ecosystem. As a brand, we want to be committed towards giving customer experience. At the same time, be mindful that we are not just aping the technology because people are talking in forums like these. People should really appreciate, and it should solve the problem rather than just be part and parcel of the technology.
I also think, in the technology, the world, information being available on the digital world is also very, very important. Yes. A lot of customers today explore, discover online, but maybe buy offline. 90% of them do buy offline, but the exploration is only happening online. So your product attributes, your product definition, your product specifications, all has to be digitally aligned. So that is where you can use AI. Utilization of AI can happen on image recognition, on product image recognition. And then how do you actually create some keywords in your digital space? Because virtual world is very, very important. The physical world is as important, and the virtual identity also has to be so important. So I think creating a seamless experience digitally is also very, very important for the information, for the discovery of product. And customer discovers too much online.
Yeah, very important. And I think now most of the sales is digitally influenced, right? So it may be starting from search or even seeing some viral video. so on and so forth. Ashita, from your vantage point, how ready do you see franchisee network to really adopt technology? Like, are they still like hinging on the experience part, the infrastructure investment part, or rather they are seeing it as the essential enablers and in fact working very proactively with brands to make the last mile implementation successful?
Very age related. Um, so people who really buy a franchise and want to run it would adopt technology very easily, but somebody who's putting in money is not very tech savvy. So somebody like a brand or a company needs to sell it to both in order to make a sale to one franchisee. So that's how it goes.
Explain a little more.
So the younger generation who needs to run the outlet doesn't necessarily has the money, and because we live on ancestral money, the money comes from the early generation. Yes, they don't evaluate a brand on the basis of how technology savvy the brand is or enabled a brand is, but younger generation sees that, so they would want to put in money in something like an e-commerce of a Zepto or a Blinkit more in comparison to opening up a store. And the parents say it's a dark store. They say yes, it's a dark store, and I want a dark store. But parents say open an outlet that is available, that I can go to, that I can physical, or the at the forefront. People can come and I can say that I own this outlet. But the younger generation say it's okay, by the time the things are getting delivered, I'm getting money, it's okay. So that's a little shift. But it's a good shift because people understand that with technology, there's a lot, that can be done, but it requires a little more money. So it's value for money. If you can create that in the minds, then it's always welcome.
Great. Now let's also shift gears a bit and talk about the other important cog, which is the consumer itself. And we can easily see that there are multiple consumer cohorts today. On one extreme, we have got digitally native Gen Zs, very different value drivers. They are very expressive, confident, less brand loyal, driven by purpose, brand stories. And then maybe we have another extreme of Gen X millennial, which still keeps product at the centers, maybe like to buy more and going for premiumization. And then altogether a different consumer cohort from Bharat, right? Which is also getting locally influenced, so on and so forth. Now the question is that how do we sort of cater to this diverse consumer cohort, different preferences in a very effective manner? And Lalitji, I will come to you. While like you have decrypted the value retail and franchising for Bharat is going to be the next big challenge to be solved, right? And no two cities are same, even Gwalior and Gorakhpur are different. So what piece of advice basis your experience would you give to sort of approach this diverse consumer cohorts in effective manner?
So Mukesh, there are two schools of thought here, and one school of thought is believe in your offering, have your standardized offering, deliver that. You will find those customer cohort in the same town, every town, and you can actually create a brand out of them. And the other story is that you tweak your brand proposition, looking at the diverse population of the demography. And how do you want to take an approach? Is a brand's approach. It's a brand's choice. And at VMart, we have been more relevant and tried to be more relevant to the audience which is operating there. Try to be more nearer to the local taste, the regional needs. And I think understanding that needs a lot of mindful, awareful drive at the local level. Have a lot of communication channel wherein you get that data, analyze those data, and then instigate and process. Have a good process wherein you can then create a cohort of those consumer and then make that as a part of your technology proposition, which then helps your buyer and then helps your allocator and supplier and warehousing team to actually deliver those kind of product lines and those kind of experience to the customer at that particular cohort of cities. So I think there are differences. 30% of India do behave differently. 30 to 40% of India do behave differently. You can't put them on a standard model. You have to be different for them. If you want to really be relevant to those 30-40% of the audience, there is a 60% of India which is uniform, which is standard. So 60% of India, 70% of India could behave in a standardized manner, but 40% of India needs tweaking,
at a local level, at a local within the same city also. मतलब गोरखपुर में भी अगर मेरी 9 दुकानें हैं तो 9 में से 4 तरह की दुकानें होंगी 9 की 9. It is not that you will find within Gorakhpur the same customer cohort in all the markets where in the Gorakhpur you have. So there is that cohort differentiation, the footfall differentiation, which is aligned with that. We should not take too much of time. I think Ashita is looking at time.
Yeah, so can I have just one more question? I think, yeah. So, Ashita, from your vantage point, what are some of the newer franchisee models you are seeing emerging, and how do you see them going ahead, being both profitable and scalable?
I think edtech, hyper-local, we are spoiling ourselves. 10 minutes, 5 minutes. So my sister stays in California, and if I tell her that, I'm just give me 5 minutes, I'm ordering this, and the home bell rings and the stuff comes in, the only thing that she tells me is you're living in heaven. Because here when we order Amazon, it might take anywhere between 2 to 6 days. So I think that's the opportunity that can happen only in a country like India or developing countries where we've got labor available. So those are interesting. EdTech, technology-enabled healthcare, senior care, men grooming salons, though there's no technology, but there's a huge rise in the salons, particularly in men's section. D2C men grooming brands. If you remember, we used to read Imami case study. What they did with men's face cream is what is happening now with salons. So these are some newer opportunities in franchising.
And any closing thought from Nitesh, you on the
Look,
future? Of
I will only say a few things. The technology or the way things are changing. I remember in 2012-13, we used to think e-commerce करना है नहीं करना है, करना चाहिए नहीं करना चाहिए. But finally, every company has a e-commerce, either 20% or somebody has a 55% also. The big, right? So I will say, if again, how much you want to change for your consumer as per the consumer behavior depends on you. How much you want to implement technology. Now there is a huge discussion every company having in fashion, especially we should have a quick commerce or not. So I remember 12-13, and now we are discussing that it should happen or not happen. But still, I feel either it is a technology or to change the way we are thinking. I already started thinking that I am outdated, boss. The way that these Gen Zs are thinking, the Gen Zs are acting, if as a different companies will not change, I feel is not right. So not 60, I will say 80% India is changing. Again, I am saying, and technology, especially in, nobody wants to go in market. The new Gen Zs, everything I am seeing at home, all teenager, my kids and all, everything is coming online. They don't want to go out, right? They all they are ordering, right? With the technology, they are using technology and all. So I think as the consumer is changing, is a high time. We need to also think how much, where as Lalitji said, not everywhere, but yes, I think somewhere somebody has need to change 50, somebody 60, somebody 30, but need to change.
Sure, thank you. And I think on this note, I will summarize that obviously it's an exciting time ahead. Lots of changes are happening, but brands and franchises need to be careful to first sort of understand the core part of their business, be it consumers, the value they need to deliver to their consumers, and then sort of go for the investment, be it technology or experience part accordingly, right? Thanks to esteemed panel members. I really find it insightful and hope you people also had a good time hearing to us. Thank you once again.
Good job done, Mukesh. Thank you.